Bright Lights, it's Angela Mozzi. Welcome to the Architecting channel and this episode of Space Doctor, where I help you understand the science of design for well-being, something called salutogenesis. Now, I've spent my entire career as an architect studying this issue, but what I want to do here is to make it easy for you to not only understand what does or doesn't contribute to our well-being that is in our surroundings every day, but also how to put it into practice either in your own personal space or in the spaces that you are involved in designing or where you have an influence in speaking up about design. And to do this, I created this really fun card deck that's organized into two sections. So the first part is foundational concepts. This is all of the neuroscience on the physiological and sociological impacts of our environment on our well-being. And the second part of the deck deals with 5 aspects of salutogenesis. So these are design prompts based on the theories of sense of coherence, self-efficacy, prospect and refuge, biophilia, and relaxation response. So each episode, I'm going to draw a card from one of each of those sections of the deck. We're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about what the two things mean when we put them together. So for this session, the card I drew for the foundational concepts is socioeconomic. So this is really dealing with the part of what we call the exposome, or everything that we are surrounded with all day, every day, that is about our social and economic well-being. So this can be everything to housing security, food security, reliable transportation, level of education, the strength of our social networks, all of these things that can contribute to either giving our lives more stability or less stability. And as you can imagine, somebody who has a lot of socioeconomic resources is going to have a lot more resiliency than someone that doesn't. And this even gets into a lot of equity issues and how fairly these socioeconomic resources are distributed among our lives. And I always love to give this example of what happens if your car breaks down. Now, if you're me and I'm going to go to work and my car won't start, what am I going to do? I'm going to call the AAA. They're going to come out. If they can't fix it on the spot, they're going to tow my car to a garage. I can afford to pay the repair bill. And what's more is I could either work from home that day, or if I really had to be physically present for a meeting or something like that, I can afford to Uber. Or I have friends that I could call and get a ride. Now let's flip that to somebody that has an old, unreliable car and must rely on driving because they don't have access to public transportation that's convenient, having that same problem. That person doesn't have AAA, probably doesn't have the savings to pay for the repair, and probably also has a job that won't let them work virtually. So same situation, two different socioeconomic scenarios though, and you can see how those play out in a very different way. So for what might be an annoyance and an inconvenience and a minor stressor for one person could be a devastating stressor for another. And what's important to realize about socioeconomic issues is even if you are relatively stable in most of them, if you have a really severe deficiency in just one of them, it can still take a huge toll on your quality of life because it's creating so much stress for you. in ways that the other parts of the socioeconomic picture may not be able to compensate. So this is an important thing to be aware of. And you can kind of take a little bit of an inventory of your own life and how you think you're doing in all of this. But you can also think about the people around you, the people you work with, people that might be your clients or customers, and what they might be going through. And when we understand that, we can think about how we can try to add maybe more things into a space that might help somebody have more resources. So, could we think about how transportation gets to and from a location? And if there isn't a public transit route, could we add another supplemental route? Or could there be car service or something like that at certain times of the day? If housing affordability is an issue, we could think differently about the way that we zone so that we could build different kinds of housing that are more affordable and are made more affordable by being close to things that are resources people need, like where they work, grocery stores so they can buy healthy food, schools that are good schools where they can send their children. Thinking about that fuller picture, not just the project that you might be working on, are all ways to help create wellness through this socioeconomic issue. The card I pulled from the aspects prompts is sound, which is part of relaxation response, which is all about our ability to restore. Now, sound can be either consonant, resonant, or dissonant. And the image that you see here of raindrops hitting an umbrella is a nice, soothing, steady sound. So, when we think about sound and the ability to de escalate a stress response, let's think about, first of all, what sounds are naturally occurring in this setting. Is it one where we can hear sounds of nature like bird calls or wind in the trees or water running? Or is it a setting where there are a lot of alarms or loud noises, things that trigger a startle response or a hyper alert level of consciousness? Because those are sounds that, even if they're in the background, even if you're not focusing on them, can over time be very stressful. Those sounds may also break your concentration, impact your quality of sleep. So I think you could start to see the connection here between these two cards, and how if we have a better socioeconomic picture, we probably are also more often in environments where the sounds we're hearing are more consonant or resonant and therefore feel more restorative. And the opposite is true where you tend to be in a place with socioeconomic deficiencies. You probably have a lot more of the sounds that are dissonant, are the ones that are going to put you on edge, are the ones that are going to make you feel startled or hyper alert. We can think about how we could introduce sounds that have more consonance or resonance to them, while at the same time ways that we can mask more of those dissonant sounds. So there are a lot of great acoustic materials out there. Some of them you can even order retail that help to muffle loud noises and keep the space more quiet. You can think about the ratio of hard surfaces, which are going to amplify and reflect sound, to soft surfaces. And what are you doing there to create more soft surfaces? So things like carpet on the floor versus hard floors, things like upholstery versus not upholstery, things like draperies or acoustic panels or acoustic ceilings versus hard ceilings. All of those kinds of things can make a difference. But you can also think about how you could introduce some of the more resonant or consonant sounds, pleasant sounds. So this may come through what is called gray noise or pink noise, noise that doesn't just mask sound, but that introduces some elements that biologically are more resonant to human beings. You can get sound machines that will play you more resonant sounds like rain falling or bird calls or ocean waves. And you can also think about materials you're using that are going to have pleasant acoustic properties. Like maybe there are wind chimes or gravel path that crunches as you walk on it, or a fountain that you can hear the trickle of water. So there's a lot of different strategies that we can use here to either mask or absorb or insulate against those dissonant noises, while we can also introduce some of those more consonant or resonant noises. And those are important ways that we can create well-being even in areas that may have socioeconomic disadvantages that might be causing more stress for the people that have to live, work, or play there. Thanks so much for listening today. I hope you got a lot of value out of this introduction to the socioeconomic part of the exposome, as well as a way that we can trigger the relaxation response by paying a little bit of attention to how we design with sound. If you like this content, don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel and tell your friends about it too, so that we can really have a much bigger and more impactful conversation about design for well-being. Take care, everyone, and we'll see you next time.